Welcome back. This is NTV Sport Nights. A very good evening to you if you are just joining us. Would love to hear from you. Do head over to our Twitter page using the hashtag NTV Sport Nights. And we do have a teaser for you asking you, who is this young sports personality? A picture of them there. Would like you to guess who the person is, or probably not guess. Tell us if you actually know. That will not be a guess. And also in our head-to-head today, Richard Dunn versus Titus Bramble, sorry, I beg your pardon. Who played better during their time? Not to bias anyone, but actually Richard is on record of having 10 scoring 10 own goals. Well, joining me in the studio, or joining the panel and I in the studio, is Dr. Benard Patrick Ogwel, the General Secretary of the National Council of Sports, and he has, should I say, loves the media. The last couple of days you've been up and about, and
you use a very strong word, love.
You don't love? Well, I'm glad you're here if you don't love us.
No. You use the word love. You know, love can be defined in many ways.
We're in the month of love, so.
Yes,
sure.
Yes, Valentine's.
Yeah, sure.
I think I have friends in the media across the board. But
whom you
definitely they are the very, very important group to communicate what happens around us, inside us, to the rest of the world. So they're very important. So I may not use the word love, but they're very good friends and stakeholders. I would use the word stakeholders.
Stakeholders.
Yes.
Okay. Clive, I'm sure now that you know your relation, where you stand with, because I'm sure as you are a very big stakeholders, USPA. Yes, please go ahead, Clive.
I would probably also to remind him that I'm also General Secretary of the Uganda Sports Press Association. So
you're most welcome.
So that show today has two General Secretaries.
Would I admire to be in my seat?
One day. Yes, but Doctor, now a lot has been said. Of course, we know what is going on in the country right now. People have now termed it Benard Patrick Ogwel versus Saraba HTO, National Council of Sports versus the Uganda Netball Federation. I'm sure that people who have been following you closely and people who have been following her closely know exactly what is going on, because each one of you has tried to put your case across. But for me, my question would be, not wanting you to repeat yourself from what you've been saying since last week, what is the way forward to make sure that all this scuffle that is going on is buried and we move forward? You have National Council of Sports, in this case, who is a supervisor, and the Uganda Netball Federation, who in another setting would be a subordinate, failing to agree for a common cause, which should be the growth and development of sport in this country. Are we going to see this coming to an end anytime soon, or it is going to go on and on and on and on?
Hey, that's a very strong question. It's like you are ready for it.
Because we need to move it.
I know the media, some media people like when the situation is volatile and they love to be there to create stories. They run this side, they run this side. But what I want to say is that, first of all, for me, it's very unfortunate environment in the social media, because we had come of age as a country, as an institution of government, in terms of giving a lot of visibility in the sport industry. And our attention over the recent past has been really geared to achieving for government and also giving great opportunities for athletes to capture the world. And this comes as a result of a very strategic intervention and planning on our side. And on one end, we also knew that for us to walk the journey, we need to see how federations can be supported. And I'm saying this proudly because this development is happening at a time I'm the General Secretary. Because before that, by year 2000, you'd want to know how much money was coming to National Council of Sports. If I'm not mistaken, could have been less than 500 million the entire financial year.
Today, for all the feds?
Yes. By actually, by 1998, it was actually 300 million, 350 million. By 1998, this is not far away. But generally, it's not about looking at faults in people, but is understanding what is your role in the kind of development. And for me, I wanted to concentrate much more on addressing the agenda for sport development for the country. First, by reorganizing the subsector, starting with myself in terms of the secretariat. That council you see there is now graded on very strong pillar. The caliber of the human resources which are there, understand what they're supposed to do. We have addressed ourselves to the missing link in the past, which is the planning approach, which was being used. Today we have a strategic direction approved by the National Planning Authority. We're even having a license for the next 5 years.
Is it being followed to the dot?
Yeah, I can go there. Of course, as a government, you need to look at what does government want to achieve. This we're talking about because it's a national development agenda for Uganda. What do we want to achieve in the sports subsector becomes a key issue. But by going that, you first convince government, because you are coming from behind. Why is it that government has not been? You have been saying government is giving sports subsector 0.0000% of the money. Even in our own sector, sports was treated as others.
Yes.
You know, they don't say, you know, when they're treating you in the listing, they say others. They are not treated like, you know,
so not given priority.
So now we have moved from that others to a priority issue. And this can be seen, one, in the level of attention we are given by government, the political will, and this is responsive, one, to the foundation we have laid in a short period. And to me, I'm proud because I'm the General Secretary, first General Secretary, because I'm the 15th General Secretary of National Council of Sports, to ensure that federations are on the subvention list of government. This is a very important achievement. Why subvention list? Because government was able to prioritize particular federations to be on top of the agenda, to help us know the niche sport which has, where we have advantage. You can talk about athletics, talk about football, talk about basketball now, and many others. Rugby, we are now participating in the World Cup almost like a normal business. Rugby Sevens is a current champion of Africa. You want to know netball is already in the World Cup, and we have been actually competing for the African trophy with South Africa. That is Now, having mentioned that, we have done some investment. This prioritization has yielded the fruits. And you note that this particular sport out of the 51, most of them have met, has achieved with us, which is a bonus. We talk about athletics alone, we have today 5 world champions. Maybe you want to go back to the history of this country. Since when have been dominating the world than today? Now that means, in my opinion, our agenda was to reorient our mission of, first of all, maximizing the opportunities. Because we know very well as a country, we are blessed with many talents. And this cannot be a debate at any level, because it is true. We have talents all over the country. Now, what government has to do is to create an enabling environment. Coming from the challenges which you already know, we must move steps forward, not behind, not remain in the same position. So we think we will open up opportunities by giving federations some support. Because this subvention I'm talking about in the past was not there all many years past. Now somebody wakes up and say, in the budget of government, I'm sure of 1 billion. In the budget of government, I'm sure of 17 billion. Nobody should pretend that this was what was being done in the past.
But Doctor,
now, the challenges we have is a challenge of any government. When really there's sometimes delay.
You're talking about the challenges, but now there are also the disagreements going on. The question is, how do you solve those to move forward? Because they are not painting your council and your subordinates in a good image. And
maybe before you answer that, I don't know if we still have Andrew on the line before we let him go to sleep. Andrew, do you have any question? Oh, Andrew is not on the line. Okay, we'll be going to Ismail later, but sorry, you can answer
I would want to say, firstly, nobody would wish first to be happy with what is happening in the social media. And I want to address myself, one, to the fact that National Council of Sports is a regulator of government. We are also an organ of government which has been mandated to develop, promote, control all forms of sports in this country. And our biggest stakeholders are the federations, because we don't do the actual work. The aspect of managing the sport, developing the sport, is actually grounded on the federation. So we must support them. That's why in our way of doing things, we first say, how can we say we have to work with federation when we are not able to give them the support, the funding? Because they have the ability. I know they're private organizations, but the football is a public good. And we have a commitment in the Constitution of Uganda to support sport development. It's a human right.
Yeah.
So we have an obligation as a government. So the institution responsible is supposed to plan and guide government on the strategic intervention to support those federations. So they are the biggest stakeholders. Now, nobody would want to think that what is happening today, being talked about, is something that makes anybody happy. And for your information, this kind of attitude started about a year ago. Actually, close of 2021 and the entire 2022. I have here so many audios, so many appearances in TVs, and some of the allegations which has been talked about. And in our ways of doing things, let me conclude on that. You know, when somebody has made some allegations on you, there is always that aspect of, is this person serious with what he's talking about? And when I consult with my political leadership, they say, you build a case. Building a case, it means you give time to only not look at one scenario. So when I'm now coming forward, like I've come now, I've never been to any media talking about whatever. It was last week when I held the press conference. Because my political leadership have given me a go-ahead, say now, Doctor, you are the head of this institution. You need to protect the brand of government and the institution. So we have to come forward with my chairman council to make clarifications. Now, along the way, this was not what we intend, because we think there could have been misunderstanding or misinterpretation of facts here and there. Council initiated or assigned the technical arm, which is technical committee headed by one of the members of council, to actually handle these matters. There are a lot of mediation efforts, discussions. I think by today I was counting, I think there are about 15 meetings which were held, specifically with Netball Federation in this case.
Between council and the Netball Federation?
Yes, because the various stakeholders, the leadership, the individual people who have been complaining, the athletes were invited to come and give their view. So at the end of the day, we wanted to see what can we do to help the situation.
Yeah, exactly.
At a point, the president of the federation indicated in the writing that somebody called Justice Mugisha, whom you think you know, had volunteered to reconcile, because the beginning of the mother problem emanated, I think, when immediately after election, disagreement ensued between the executive committee, where the vice president, the general secretary, the publicity secretary, and the rest were suspended. And they now protested and say, you are suspending us, first of all, on what ground? Now they're the first to write a formal complaint to council on the issues in the expiration. Now we did not take it lightly, because the complaint once has reached, and we know this is a federation. Firstly, we are required to ensure that all federations that are recognized by government, registered with us, who has our certificate of recognition, are compliant with their own constitution that established them. And this is registered with us at the time of the registration of that particular federation. So therefore, you go to the aspect of compliance. Are they complying with the statutes? Now, in doing that, you don't take on the aspect of a judge. You say, what is the problem? You convene meetings, and this is what I'm talking about. We have convened meetings with the board of trustees, with the leadership. The committee was handling all those. Now, in between, we noted that the matter was not on the issues that has been discussed, but also some of the activities that require responses from federation. Like, you give government money out, you require a response, formal response. Just like in government system, every quarter, we're supposed to file our responses, the budget performance reports to the Internal Auditor General, to Minister of Finance, to Accountant General. There are systems in government that every quarter you must align. And if you don't do, it affects and it causes problem for the accounting officer. Now, if a federation therefore delays to respond, and in the Public Finance Management Act, you are required to file accountability for any government money within 60 days from the date you are given. Maybe somehow we are lucky in this context where sometimes the funds are released late. So you give benefit. So normally what we do when we get money, which is money of government, once approved, we issue that instrument to all and say, we have identified and approved this expenditure for this activity, for the following activities. Please account for this money within 30 days, within 45 days, depending on the time lag we have within the system. Because by end of the quarter, the next 15 days, we're supposed to do a reporting. Now, having done that, we have internal audit functions in government that help us at the level of council to review all the submissions of all the federations we have supported. These are technical people who do reviews and all that. So, in a nutshell, you asked a very strong question. I should have actually made it
You're
short.
going to answer it now.
No, I'm answering now. But that background was good.
Concerned.
Nobody would wish to really have a situation that would put us down. Because for us, we are looking ahead to see where do we deliver sports? How do we empower federations? What should we do better for athletes to feel that the government is responsible for their preparation, participation, and also reward them for the good performances? What should we do to improve on the sports infrastructure that today our athletes don't train on tarmac and go and compete on artificial turf? We want to see this as key issues. Now, as you are trying to now move, now my problem as a country, I would think should not be so much on funding. Because government, through parliament, appropriated 47.8 billion. The only challenge now is releases, which I think government, in its own wisdom, will address that. Although it is affecting us. But at least it's better than before, where we don't even have the money allocation. Now, that is a big step for me. So I expected us to consolidate the gains we have made, so that we're able now to shift our attention. Like you know, you have been challenging me, when you go to Kigali, you are almost restless because you are just admiring the indoor facility. We said, now, the other time, they're showing me the picture of Lugogo Indo. They're showing me the ceiling. They're showing me, you find like, but this council doesn't have capital development funding. I would be challenged. I said, how can I allow my athletes to train this kind of facility in this modern era? My task would be therefore to convince government, which we are doing. And I am telling you very confidently that as we move to next financial year, our agenda as council to parliament is that let them do something for sports infrastructure development by giving us a location.
Does that solve the wrangles that are going on right now?
Yes, because it's part of the problem. Part of the problem is that we don't even have facilities. When I was being hosted this morning, I was challenged. Actually, they brought the old picture of indoor facility, and they're pointing at the ceiling falling down. They are saying, you look at this, what is your comment?
This is a facility that collects revenue on a daily.
Now, they would do better. Because for the case of Rwanda, which I visited recently, the indoor facility, which is there, is already booked for the next 1.5 years. But the athletes are able to enjoy. You know, good facilities enhances performance of athletes.
Yes.
But also poor facilities affect performance of athletes. I have so many athletes who have complained about athletics because the surface is too hard for them. Now, even your career, if you're supposed to spend 10 years, you end up spending 5 years because the knee is getting affected because of the hard surface you are landing on, you are running on. So, technically, you should do something different to help athletes. So this is what we anticipate to take us to the next level. Because one, we are able to produce best talents, we will be able to open gates for the federations to even collect money with their brand. Yeah, you have been in the basketball finals, after the playoff finals, for example. And I noted for the first time, there was overflow to the extent that they had to close the gates at 5 p.m. The game was at 8 p.m. For the first time, because Lubog was full.
Yeah.
But that money went to who? It did not come to me. It went to support activities of the federation. If you have a better sport facility, even federations, in a single event, they can collect 200 million. At the end of the day, they will have much more resources to support their brand, support their activities, and even athletes will be compensated, rewarded, because they have the ability, on top of the allocation of government. So there's a lot of value addition. Besides that, we will be able to host many international events, which would make you happy to host and win at home, but also sell our country. So in this regard, you find that whatever is happening takes us back. It's like we are not focused on what we are supposed to do. It's like we are so disorganized. But again, when you look at the performance of National Council of Sports, I want to tell you, for me, I'm proud because I know where we are in terms of reporting of government. So the disorganization arising out of disagreement, which to me should have been an internal matter, is perhaps taken to a different level.
Why is this internal matter out there on the streets of social media and different media houses? How are you guys doing? How are you going to get it out of the media so that you solve it amicably?
Well, now we know. We all want to know what the solution is.
We have insisted. I think the mediations are going on.
Wonderful.
And we want to talk to everybody to appreciate that this is our country. And if you have challenges, like one of the biggest issues is about National Council of Sports not providing funding to the federation.
Yeah.
First of all, the excitement that came when the government appropriated 47.8 billion. Everybody knew we have something.
Yes.
And I could see some of the screenshots of the excitement when that was announced. But again, Q1, the releases were targeting major games. Federations were not given allocation. Q2, we got 2.3 billion in the first release. We bargained, we got additional resource, 4.1, which we sent all to federations. Then additional 2 billion that came, we supported with the FUFA to enable them to carry out some of their activities, including CHAN. Now, at the end of the day, we are operating at 49% of the budget release instead of 75%. We are up to this point, we have about 24 billion we want. And all this money, bigger chunk of it, would be 90% is supposed to go to federations. But this money is what they needed to keep them busy, to keep them support the activities. So the disappointment is coming as a result of disappointment. They are saying there is a problem. And sometimes they accuse me. They said, you are getting our money and eating it. And some of those days they are splashing even the salary scale of National Council of Sports.
We know how much you are.
Now you know.
Well, Daniel,
you would be telling me I want money. But because you know, doctors got money. But generally, should that be an issue? Because even the public service of Uganda, the ones who determine the structure, salary scale for all organizations of government, it has to be approved. So, we are really getting outside what should really be our business. And to me, I want to appeal to all sport lovers and sport leaders to work with the government, to work with the people, and also to know that this sport is bigger than all of us. I am a General Secretary today, but tomorrow I'm not going to be General Secretary. But the institution of government must run. Just like a leader today, you are president of the federation, you are not going to die there.
Okay,
you should make a legacy. So I'm calling for people to appreciate working together.
Okay, let's hear from Danielle, and Isma is also standing by very patiently. Danielle, first.
Yeah, I am happy that Dr. has talked about the achievements of the National Council of Sports, which is government itself, and we love whatever we have reached at as Uganda, because when government, you know, says something, the whole Uganda is affected. But I want Doctor to come out on this rot that is happening in the national federations. We may be right now talking about the Netball Federation. Actually, they are the ones that have managed to speak up, but we have had issues of funding, which he has talked of, and this bickering, which Clive has also mentioned, has been ongoing, and looks like, Doctor, you want to sweep it under the carpet. The problem is there. how is that problem going to be sorted before we can think of infrastructure, before we can think of administration and all that? And
before he answers, let's go quickly to Isma online so that you answer both questions at the same time. Isma, do let us know what your question is for the General Secretary.
I'm here in Morocco. Last time you and I were called 2019 for the All Africa Games. Without you, which is not a very bad thing. Anyway, Doctor, sometimes I've said this many times and elsewhere, that sometimes as someone who was with the National Council of Sports and understands the processes and these things, and sometimes from a point of someone without the knowledge about how the institution works. But for me, they're just a thing that I want to put to you, Doctor. Currently, the war that we involve, which is an individual video, and the president of boxing and the one of net, Robert Jagwe, and then Sarah Babiri Htio. For me, is a war you're already losing as a person, because on social media today when I read, I hardly find cases of anyone saying you're innocent. And of course, social media has given us a lot of power, where within 160 letters, we sound to be extremely knowledgeable about a subject that is extremely complex. So some of the things that it's a war you're not winning as an individual. And for me, you've got to understand that as a person, that it may even be a war that you won't win in the public eye. And I don't even want to take a side, because in the end, most of us sports fans, I here and you in studio. But Doctor, the one thing that for me stands out are the bribery allegations. Could you please respond for the benefit of NTV viewers tonight for Sport Nights? The thing about the money that Babige says you are given, the kickbacks that have been taken, the money involving boxing and Kavumba, because you might explain the things through the accountant general and the processes, those will not make sense. What will make sense to the viewer tonight are the things concerned with money from NCS to federation accounts that is then withdrawn, and the federation president's claim is then returned to you. Thank you.
And you know the processes of how funds of government are transacted. And I want to just reiterate, firstly, by appreciating you for being very spot on the matter of allegations. I am happy you have mentioned allegations, and for over the months I've been reading some of these issues, nobody has tabled any evidence. And I've also seen in the parliament, when some of them went to parliament, they have made allegations. And parliament asked them to table the allegations with the evidence. None of them has come back. I think up to today I ask, because right from that moment I pick up interest in the case, and I've recorded it, because it's a defamatory statement that I require them. Now my team are working on that.
You already have a reference number for
yes,
the case?
I have. And the people who are responsible definitely will be required to make statements and give additional information, because that is a very, very strong allegation. But you ask to the viewers, I want to say categorically clear that the allegations by the president of Netball Federation is purely fabricated, malicious, and witch hunt, and very high level of falsehood. And I will assure you, if I was God, I would just say a word here and say fault the other side.
What?
Because in life, if you tell a lies, you tell a lies. And I can tell you, if there was anybody here, I would hold a Bible here and say, Babire, come here and swear. I would hold that Bible and swear.
Yeah, but
now,
Doctor,
at the end of the day, you say you want to hear from me. So my point is very clear. That is a high level of malicious, decampaigning, witch hunt, and falsehood, fabricated to divert attention on the issues at hand from our perspective. Now, I want to say that the problem with that federational leader, I think, emanates from the fact that she failed to manage our federation in line with what we want. If you ask government money and you are given resources of government, you are required to account for it. Now, when you don't account for it properly, and then you are asked to account for the money, you turn around and start wanting to intimidate. This is an intimidation aspect. You want to start now putting claims. And in this case, he's saying the vice president, is it Mr. Momoza, is the one who told her. I have waited for information to that effect. In terms of, today I saw she was saying that she wrote even a letter. I am really interested for police to pick a copy of that. When was this letter registered with National Council?
The one she wrote to you?
It is making rounds actually on social media.
I'm very interested in that.
Because she says she has been writing, okay, the Netball Federation has been writing letters.
No, I'm saying that
NCS,
that letter I saw today
receipts.
when I was in NBS. When I got out of NBS, I got it. Somebody sent it to me on the social media.
The one that talks about the 30 million?
Yes.
You've never received it?
No, not at all. So at the end of the day, to me, Mr. Dakaba, this seemed to be an orchestrated plan to fight me. Because at the end of the day, in the life you try to collaborate so many issues. And I can give you other reasons out of this meeting, out of this show. But nevertheless, the matter is registered and it is captured in the Auditor General report as a matter of failure to account for government funds. So what I would beg her to do is to clean herself and tell the Parliament, because of course the oversight role is performed by Parliament. She will be asked as a witness to go and produce to the contrary what she claimed was right given to us. Because in our working as an accounting officer, I'm required to ensure that the resources of government are used appropriately. Now, if you can say that for 1 year, and all that you are doing every day is to go from one radio station, from one TV station, to go and say the same thing about the person, but you have failed to go to the next step and report as a matter which is criminal and need to be investigated. Now, arising of that, the same Babire has run to IGG. I have so many issues there raised. You get me? So at the end of the day, what is the truth? So why can't she do it so that the truth comes out?
Doctor,
other than running to Kiaze in Isanyu, coming to NTV here.
Doctor,
so you have a solution to her, in other words.
You're asking for the truth, and this will take me back to the question I asked. I'm going to ask it for the 5th time. How is Council and the Netball Federation going to get this issue out of the media and settle it amicably? You started off by saying you are for sports development, and what is going on at the moment is surely known for sports development. So if the objective of Council and other federations is for sports development, how are you people going to get this issue out of the media to see that you solve it for the good of sports development, for the good of young netball players out there who have dreams of one day playing in disciplines like the World Cup and all these other netball international?
I want to answer it this way. One, there's been a deliberate move by a few of the presidents, maybe about 3-4 of them, whose agenda you know, and I so started with Babire. Mr. Cliff Chaze and Mr. Dakaba knows them. I'm not mentioning names. They have their agenda. And I would not want to say this is the position of other sport leaders, but they have their own agenda. And if you talk to them individually, all of them, but also them have issues and cases to answer. Perhaps that's the reason that they're using that to intimidate me. Now, National Council Sports employed me. I'm answerable to National Council Sports. Now, the whole focus here is on me. But me, I'm the chief executive officer who implements the resolutions, the directives of council and of government. Now, nobody has put council, which is led by Mr. Tashobia, to task to ask, for example, but Everything is Ogwel. My name has now become an Osman name.
Officer.
So I hope to see very many children given my name. Because that name to be a very important name.
She had a question about other federations, yeah.
You ask about other federations.
Yeah.
I would want to think that, one, these federations are registered. They have members. The members of the federations are those ones that constitute and form the executive committee to run their sport. And I'm very sure they are watching what is happening in that federation. The constitution mandates them to put the executive to account for whatever they do in the interest of their federation. I think for us, we are acting as regulators because we address ourselves to the compliance issues. That concerns us. But also we have powers as council. Powers of council, just like we register them, we also have power to withdraw the recognition. That is the power we have. Now, we have not yet engaged that gear.
Why?
We have not engaged that gear because we have given a room for them to reorganize. And we have given a chance. That's why at a level of council has already come up with a report on all the issues of netball, for example. This matter has moved to the next level of the political leadership,
Which
to
is
provide guidance. And I can assure you, the Honorable Minister, Honorable Minister of State for Sport has been mediating this at a personal level. He has had meetings with the Executive Committee of Babire, with the Board of Trustees. He has also had meetings with the players, and all that. Now, that consultation is at that level. And I think before the end of this week, a statement will be made, especially
wonderful.
for netball.
Well,
Because why I'm mentioning that, netball national team, the sequence, should be now, if not, I'm not mistaken, should be now in the preparation mode.
Yes.
For the World Cup, which is in South Africa.
And the African Championship that
we
are
think
hosting.
our focus as a country, first of all, netball being a priority sport, we expect good performance. Africa is hosting netball for the first time. We expect our team to go there.
Exactly that.
You expect good performance. Are you willing to fully support them so that
I'm sure.
That's what I also wanted.
I'm sure that if Netball Federation accept to do everything right, we are going to ensure that they're given all the support. I remember in the forum, this is the forum or a separate meeting, the minister informed the gathering that he would want to think that this time even our national team should be able to go hard enough and camp in South Africa, such that they're able to prepare adequately, waiting for the World Cup. We're also aware now we have a number of foreign-based players who are outside there, making us proud. So we think we can make a strong statement. And we want to think this is actually what we should do very fast to clear this mess so that the national team and other development program take shape. So give us this week. This week here I've said with a lot of attention. This week this matter will be handled, and by next week you'll see a statement.
Maybe, member, if you could allow me one more.
Yes.
It is a bit broad.
Okay.
We've always had different federation heads coming out say you've not given them their money as allocated or directed by Parliament and stuff like that. Now, I wanted you to probably shed light on that. Who is responsible to direct council on the allocation of funds to the different federations? Is it Parliament? Is it Minister of Education and Sports? Is it Minister of Finance? Who exactly is responsible on that duty?
Firstly, the laws of Uganda are very clear. Parliament appropriates resources. National Council Sports Council approve the budget, allocation and prioritization of the budget in line with the instruction from the Secretary to the Treasury, who is a permanent Secretary, Minister of Finance, Plan, Economic Development. Now, all those are communicated to the accounting officers of all the votes of government, in this case, to implement. This is where the General Secretary will come in, to implement. And this implementation is aligned to the approval of Parliament, the core agenda, which is approved by Cabinet, and all the resource envelope prioritization that is done. That's where you find at the end of every financial year, we are able to come up with our allocation of resources. As of now, National Council Sport has allocation of resources, where you even know FUFA has 17 billion, netball has 1 billion, boxing has 1 billion,
which they don't
basketball as 1 billion. Now, the issue of they don't get is what I started with. The challenges this financial year has been overwhelming. Because I said we did not get the releases as planned, for reasons which have already been explained. And therefore it affects our allocation or disbursement of funds to respective federations. But also arising out of some of these challenges, you find some funds are withheld because the federation has not accounted for what they have been given before. So that money is hanging there waiting for clearance. And it's not my decision. It's the decision of the council.
Okay.
I want you to promise something. I want you to, because our time is fast spent, I want you to promise us that one day when the dust has settled, Mabel will one day host you on this show with Sarah Babideshito at the same time.
Well, if I gauge that anyway, let me not go there. I would wish to say that yeah, I will look into that. If I feel that the level of maturity in handling issues is now at the limit that I can be able to engage. But as a person, I respect each and everybody. And I've never undermined any sport leader. In fact, in all of this, before, Sarah Babire came with the husband before election to my office, we had a good chat. When I was even making some of this budget, I would call her, come to my office, sit next to me. We draw the budget and I say, we don't have money, let's adjust this. We do it together. Even for Namibia. She spent that day in my office. We were happy doing this thing. But little did I know behind, she has other agenda.
Okay, Doctor, I've got to read this. The Uganda Golf Union has no support from National Council of Sports. It's a message I've just received. Uganda is to host the All Africa Junior Golf in April. National Council of Sports has not confirmed even a cent to them. The budget is 600 million. National Council of Sports is not bothered. What's your comment?
I would not say we are not bothered. We are bothered because anything that affects our sports definitely bothers leaders, even me. I have had several chats with the president. And actually, the last person I talked to here on the phone was the president of golf.
Okay.
Before I entered the studio, we were discussing other issues. And I want to only promise that we are doing everything possible. We know that we have not supported the federations. I've had a lot of engagement meetings, even with the political leadership. We have been given a green light to discuss this at the highest level this week.
What's the highest level?
The highest level, I don't want to say, but you know in this country, the highest level. When I say highest level, you know what I'm meaning. So when we finish that discussion, I am very hopeful that we shall make a good statement to the sport leaders. And possibly this storm will go down. Because if I give Jagwe money, I give Moage money, they'll start smiling. But the problem now, they have their own pressures. Now they put their pressures on me because they see I'm not providing a solution. Definitely, we are looking for release from Treasury because it has not been forthcoming. And this could not be my big challenge, my challenge as a person. But we appreciate the reasons given the Treasury. And we are in a bargaining mood. Because if I get that money, definitely, I will give it to them. Because these monies are tight. And government system, once the resources are allocated, say 1 billion for you, I cannot use that money to give to...
Yeah, but you sound like the national budget has not been cut by 64%, or that won't be happening.
We have fought very hard to put a case for reinstatement of that in the upcoming financial year. We have also made a case for allocation towards capital development project. We want to refurbish our sport facilities, which you always talk about every day, and government will act this time. So one, I have hope that Parliament will consider in setting our budget and also improve on it, and Federation will get the money. About the releases for this financial year, we still have hope, and as I said, we are still having a very good discussion this week.
At high level.
At the end of the day, my prayer, I'm even fasting. That's why you see the weight has gone down, not because of Babire. I'm fasting so that this solution will come, because at the end of the day, when I give this money to these federation leaders, they will have activities to do. Nowadays, their focus is now, we have failed to give them what they're supposed to get. And that matter is not my matter.
Well, Dr. Benard Patrick Ogwel, it's been a pleasure having you, and we look forward to hosting you, possibly within the next
time, host me alone, not with the...
No, next time it should be with Sarah Babirye too.
Okay.
Well, we shall see about that. We'll now move
After prayers,
to...
when I know that okay.
Okay, Isma, I hope you're happy where you are, but we'll definitely be coming back with you. We'll now be going over to local stories that made a roundup, and then heading into a break.